Takes a while.
Sweet.
All right, this is right after the Tyson Fury Dillian Whyte fight. This is the first time I'm doing this with two of my friends from Twitter. We met through Chicken Talk. Shout out to Lefty, my man Ezra from the Ezra podcast. Go check that out. Hit the subscribe button to him. And my man Truth Over Narrative, A-Side Boxing Talk. He has a YouTube page. He's gonna get it up and running. He already had it before, but he's coming back. How do you want to be referred to as here on the podcast?
It's kind of Truth, man.
Truth. All right, so Truth and Ezra, we're gonna give a breakdown of their fight. I'm gonna start off with Ezra. Tell me how you saw the fight and what you think of the performance that Tyson Fury gave.
I think he's unbeatable at heavyweight. I'll be honest with you, and I'm gonna compare it to a Power Ranger, and that's a stupid comparison. I understand. Start with Power Ranger. I don't know how familiar you guys are with Power Rangers, but if you remember the Power Rangers show, they used to fight karate on the floor. Like they would just fight normal ninja guys karate, and you would be like, oh, they got hands. And then when they got a problem, right, and it really hit the fan, they became a giant robot. And then you'd be like, well, why weren't they just the giant robot from the beginning? Seems like that would solve all their problems. That's what Tyson Fury is able to do. He can gain all the weight and be a giant in there and be a powerhouse pressure fighter, or he could just be cut down to 10 pounds. He did this fight and be a boxer and be elusive, be able to keep the distance, be able to move around the ring. I think this guy's capable of doing anything in the ring that he needs to. And he's able to transform his body now wherever he needs it to be strategically. So I'm really impressed. I don't know who beats him. I don't have Usyk beating him. I don't have Joshua beating him. Now it looks like this.
Okay. How about you, Truth?
Nah, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, man. I had Dillian Whyte mid rounds. I had Dillian Whyte mid rounds, and I say this because we know we didn't know what Tyson Fury was going to look like coming up. See, a lot of people talk about the damage that was done to Deontay Wilder over those 3 fights, which was a lot. But also, if I'm not mistaken, Tyson Fury was dropped 4 times over those 3 fights. So we know Dillian Whyte is somewhat of a puncher. I think the whole world knew that the only option that Dillian Whyte had was to get on the inside, which would have negated Fury's movement, right? Granted, Fury's 6'9", he got those long arms. So a guy like Dillian Whyte, his game plan should have been to kind of get on the inside, work, make it dirty. In which when it was clinching, he was making it dirty. You got to throw punches to, to get there as well. So, and just like you said, man, I think, man, Tyson Fury, he looks unbeatable, man. I mean, just like the Power Ranger comment, for that height and weight, you're not supposed to be able to move like that. It's just, bro, you're just not like. You're just not supposed to be able to move like that. And then, like I said, he turned into a boxer. And bro, he literally he didn't throw one uppercut. He set him up for that punch for 6 rounds straight. That's boxing IQ, bro. That is boxing IQ at his fucking excuse my language, at his highest, man. That was pretty amazing, man. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie, man.
No, I came away impressed as well. The only round I gave to Dillian Whyte, but it was only kind of like nothing really happened. I guess I gave him the first round, but if you told me you gave Fury the first round, I wouldn't. I'm not gonna sit here and argue with you. But Tyson Fury pretty much dominated. It was a kind of a boring fight. One of the things I found interesting is his defense is that he's so tall that him just leaning back and kind of just flailing his arms. He's either gonna block it with his arms, or the guy's 6'9", him leaning all the way back. You're not gonna land. And by the way, Dillian Whyte's not a short guy. He's 6'4". You know what I'm saying? That's a big dude. You know what I'm saying? A 6'4" guy was to walk in this room, you would know this guy's huge. He didn't look like a big guy in that ring.
Exactly.
And what I did like of what Tyson Fury did is an old Kronk move that Vladimir Klitschko was known for, and that's kind of like where hold on, you can't really see my hand, but you kind of coming forward and you kind of bringing your hand up, and then you bring in his jab hand down, and usually the Kronk fighters come with the overhand right or a straight right hand, but this time he used it for an uppercut. Dillian Whyte has been susceptible to uppercuts. We've seen him knocked out before. Previously, not too long ago, against Povetkin. I think he saw that, analyzed that, and they worked on that Kronk move where they pull your jab hand down, get you centered, and then he was right in line for that uppercut and knocked him out with one punch. I came away very impressed, and I do agree with you, Ezra. I don't see any heavyweight beating him, with the exception if somehow, some way we can get Anthony Joshua's mental game on point. maybe he can do it because he's somebody who I feel is strong. He can crack, but has chin problems.
That's the thing.
Has a mentality.
That's the thing. And now that Fury's found his power, and he's confident in his power now. You know, that power's for real.
Bro, Tyson Fury went 29 fights without knowing how to crack, bro.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
He just learned how to crack. And so that's the thing I was looking at. And then even in this fight, man, something that really kind of I was surprised by Dillian Whyte and Fury. Fury kept Dillian Whyte at bay because every time Dillian Whyte would throw that jab, Fury was throwing that check hook, right? So if you notice, Dillian Whyte was damn near fighting with his right hand up and he was jabbing, but anytime that hand would come down, Fury was throwing that check hook. So he kept that right hand at bay. You know, Dillian Whyte like to throw those huge looping overhand rights, you know what I mean? Followed by a real quick a real quick left hook. But every time Fury was touching him, he kept that right hand at bay, man. That man, ring eye kick, man. Yeah. I didn't like Fury before. I mean, go ahead.
He needed to wrap up. Like, we know he needed to do that, right? And he needed to get on the inside. And the thing is, the ref allowed them to fight rough. Like, the ref didn't break it up when they got.
And
I like that ref. I like that ref. He didn't take no points. He just gave stern warnings at times and was like, "Hey guys, you know, this is a heavyweight championship fight. Let's clean it up." But at no point did I feel like he was overbearing.
Yeah, if you were saying, White, you got to rough him up, you got to work on the inside, he roughed him up, but he never worked on the inside. That's on him. He can't blame the ref. He can't blame anything. Everything is on him. I knew as soon as Fury came in, 267 or 70 pounds, wherever he came in around, and it was less than the Wilder fight, I knew he was going to be able to box around the ring. I knew White didn't have a chance at that point because White needs to be set to do his work. He needs to be set to place his punches. As soon as you start getting him moving, Fury is just barely moving. He's moving to his right, and he's barely moving, just a little bit, just making White reset. Every time he's got to make him reset. As soon as you do that, the fight was over. That was it.
And then it seemed like early on in the fight, White abandoned the game plan. So that's why even with you, Joel, I think I see you say you kind of gave him the first round. That's because he was jabbing, but more than jabbing, he was trying to establish a body attack, right? And so even coming out of that first round, I'm like, well, Fury kind of moved around. Obviously, it was the first round, so I didn't expect him to close distance. Like, obviously, it's the first round, so I don't expect that. But I did expect him to continue that body attack, right? And then, like I said, with Dillian Whyte, once he'll throw that jab and he started throwing that looping right hook, I'm like, man, this dude, he was becoming undone, man. But man, credit to Fury, all credit to Fury, man.
Yeah.
What did you guys make of Dillian Whyte coming out southpaw in the first round, and then Tyson Fury coming out southpaw in the second round? Like, I found that very interesting. I was not expecting that from either fighter, to be honest with you. But it's somewhat. I guess they were trying to play mind games with each other. What did you guys make of that?
Well, I think when Fury fought Schwartz, if I'm not mistaken, when he started putting it on him, I think he went southpaw for a couple rounds in that fight, man. And Fury, he had said before, even in the Wilder fight, well, remember he said before the leading up to the last fight, said he was going to come out southpaw and all, which he didn't. But I mean, understand why. But I just think Fury is one of those guys, man. He just got the talent, man. I mean. It's just that the thing that amazes you is that he does not look like he's supposed to do the shit that he's doing. But I think he's one of those guys, man. I don't want to say like a Terrence Crawford kind of guy, but really, man, you looking at this guy and it's like, you know what? For Wilder, he understood that he had to walk Wilder down and keep Wilder off balance so he could not plant to set his feet. And this one, he understand that he had to move around, let Dillian come in, walk him in the shots, and because Dillian Whyte has such a low IQ, basically bait him into this one punch. You know what I'm saying? And so, I mean, like I said, beautiful performance by Fury, man.
Whyte did that, and he came in southpaw. I just kind of thought it was already like desperate for something to work. I already felt that. I was like, he's not the kind of guy that's going to need to switch a game plan. He doesn't have multiple game plans. He only has one game plan. It's because the same style he's been fighting his whole career. He had to do that. And as soon as he did, I was like, well, this is a waste of a round. Even though you gave it to him, Broadway, but still, even if you gave it to him, he needed to be effective. He needed to start implementing big shots already, right? Start making him work in there. And he did it. It was just a round, really a waste of him chasing and being slower on his southpaw stance than, his normal stance. So I thought that was a waste, honestly. I didn't understand that move at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that was kind of a haggler Sugar Ray. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, what are we doing here? I think you don't have to do this. It's okay.
I think he just wanted to give Fury a different look, and maybe if Fury had intentions of coming out a little bit more aggressive, where it would be like, oh, hold on, I was gonna come out aggressive, but He's southpaw. I kind of wasn't expecting that. I'm not sure what was his line of thinking, but I found it very interesting. Somebody's asking in the chat, and I'll answer first, and then I want to hear you guys answer. He says, Randy, he's asking, where do you think Fury ranks as a heavyweight all time? So the way I'll answer this, as far as all time accomplishments, I can't rank him too high. You know, he beat Klitschko, he beat Wilder twice, good wins, but I wouldn't say those were, that's not over. I wouldn't put that over Ali over Foreman or Ali over Frazier, like certain fights like that. Joe Louis had 26 defenses. He was, Larry Holmes was the longest reigning heavyweight champion. But as far as all-time heavyweight, in the sense of, all right, take this heavyweight from this era and you take Tyson Fury and put him in, I think Tyson Fury can compete in any era in heavyweight boxing history. In the 70s, because people say went back when Frazier and Foreman and Norton and Ali and Shavers, all those guys, people say that was the best heavyweight era. I think he can compete in that. Does he beat everybody? Maybe, maybe not. 90s is probably the second best era when you had Tyson, Lewis, Holyfield, old George Foreman, Riddick Bowe. I think he can compete in that era. Does he beat everybody? I don't know, but I think he can compete in any era because of his size and now his newfound power. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that, like you said, resume, he'll probably never get to that point ever. He's only, 33 years old, though, so he's still pretty young, but he did just say that he's going to retire from boxing. Yeah. So, I don't buy that, but let's just see how that plays out. But he's in the talks of, as far as his size and his talent and everything like that he could probably compete with anyone. He's in that talks now. The hypothetical, what is it? Who does that on boxing Twitter all the time? Like, who wins and how we always do.
Yeah.
He's in that talks now, like who wins and how. I think he's, to me, as far as size, athleticism, everything, he's like right there with Lennox. I mean, I always thought Lennox, when he was at his best, was almost unbeatable. I think that Fury's kind of like at that point, because you got to remember the heavyweights. It's just like in the NBA. Like Embiid, we haven't really had a center that could do what Embiid does. Embiid's basically a point guard as 7'2". You know what I mean? And Tyson Fury's basically smaller, fighting like a smaller heavyweight at like the biggest heavyweight ever we've ever seen. So it's just at the point of just like over time, these athletes are getting better. He's just one of those examples of just the athletes are getting better.
Yeah, I think when you're looking at Fury in his age, I think that he just, sometimes certain fighters are just in the wrong era. And like you were saying, like even right now, right? Let's say he doesn't retire. So who does he have left to beat? He will have Usyk and he would have Joshua, right? But I think even with KO victories over Usyk and Joshua, there's nobody else kind of left there. So yeah, you defeated Wilder, who was kind of like the best, I don't want to say the most powerful, I guess, heavyweight within the last, I guess, say 10 years, right? So that's a great win. Joshua, we're starting to question Joshua right now, and depending on the outcome of this Usyk Joshua fight, I think we may have another outlook on Joshua's career beyond that. So it's like, if you defeat these two guys, I still wouldn't put them top 10. But I guess when you play in a hypothetical skill game, I think that Tyson Fury is, I don't want to say second to none, because you got like Larry Holmes and his jab, Ali and the footwork. So I think he's up there. Not all time, but I just think that if he does some more fighting, I don't know. We can't. We're just not in the era to give him the all-time mark right now.
No. I was, just to be clear, I'm not ranking him as an all-time great just yet in terms of accomplishments, but in terms of ability, in terms of chances of winning. You telling me, like Tyson Fury versus Mike Tyson? I'm not going to dismiss Tyson Fury. And listen, Mike Tyson's right behind me. I'm from Brooklyn. I have every reason to be biased. I am not going to dismiss Tyson Fury's chances against Tyson, against Holyfield, against George Foreman, against Joe Frazier, against any of those guys. I am not, just on size, period. And then you add on top of the fact that he got skills. He got a chin. He fought Wilder, didn't get knocked out, and he fought him 3 times, So I definitely think that he can compete in any era. I think he can compete against Muhammad Ali. I don't know whether he beats all the guys I just mentioned.
Yeah, but
what my point is,
he's in the talks, right? He's in the talks.
Yes, he's in the talks. Like if me, let's say me and Truth right now was going out of the debate, and I said Ali beats Tyson Fury, and he's told me no, I wouldn't look at Truth like, come on, bro, you crazy. You don't know nothing about boxing. I would not. I would just be like, okay, that's your opinion. I may disagree, but that's your opinion. That's the way I look at it.
Too is that now that he has more power, it's somehow to me it helped his boxing a little bit, because before he was a lot more moving. He would never set his feet. He just like in the first Wilder fight, he moved a lot in that fight. He really truly sat on anything. But now that he feels confident he can sit on stuff, it takes less movement for him to get out of range, because he's more confident in what he has to offer coming in. So he's constantly trying to set something up. So that allows him to lessen the movement. So now he's very just one step. I can get out of range. I'm just out of range to where I can make you pay. And if you come at me, you're going to come up just short. He's actually becoming a better boxer as well. This is a full package it's improving here.
Yeah, I think the same thing, man. It's going to be hard for anybody to beat Tyson Fury. It's going to be very hard. But one thing I will say is, and I know I had a couple conversations, and I gave people gave me stick about the Ugas thing. Same thing. It's like you got to show me that dog, man. You got to show me. If somebody said that Dillian Whyte really didn't come to fight, I'm not going to argue that. Like he didn't try hard enough to break that. He was kind of cool with staying that distance. He was kind of throwing them long, flailing shots. He's off balance and stuff. Like, what was the game plan? You had a full 8-week camp, so it's not like a short fight but your brother's telling you go to the body, get in. But I mean, he just didn't show anything, man.
Also, I felt like he was very centered. Like what seeing him getting knocked out by an uppercut, but even ignoring his past history of having trouble with uppercuts, I just knew he was open for it. Like, dude, you're not gonna, I like fighters who dip to the side and move, and he just kind of was just plodding forward and was just kind of his head.
I felt like he didn't get up for the fight or something. Like you didn't get up for this fight. Like you just was like, whatever, Fury.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. I was a bit disappointed with his performance, but I don't want to dismiss what Tyson Fury.
No, not at all.
Sensational one-punch knockout.
Yeah, Dillian Whyte. He comes from a background. He's a kickboxer, so kickboxing very stiff upper body movement. You don't ever really move your head in kickboxing as far as like dipping under stuff, because you're going to go into a kick. So those are their natural things that are already in him, have been implanted in him. And yeah, he's always had that style. I mean, what he is if you stay on the inside with him, he has a chance of putting you to sleep. But if you can move around like that, he has no chance.
Yeah. What I do want to do is a person who I want to give a lot of credit to, and I feel like it's being swept under the rug for whatever reason. The SugarHill Steward. Give that man his credit, because Tyson Fury did not fight like that. Did not fight like that until we got with him. And I don't know how all these fighters run into Eddie Reynoso. Listen, if I'm a fighter right now, I'm running to Detroit to train with SugarHill Steward. That man is honoring his uncle, Emmanuel Stewart, and now has the lineal heavyweight champion and has him looking spectacular. I want to give that man his credit. I wish he had a little bit more fighters so I can make an argument for him being trainer of the year, because the work he did with Tyson Fury, it's almost night and day. He knocked out Wilder twice, knocked out Dillian Whyte with one punch.
Yeah,
I am amazed of the work that Emmanuel, I almost called him Emmanuel, SugarHill Steward has done, and I want him to get his praise.
Yeah, I would like to know if he got other fighters, man. I know he was working with Nico Ali for a little bit, and then they kind of parted ways. So I really wonder who else does he have in his stable, I guess, of fighters.
Yeah, I don't know why that hasn't blown up. His training, everyone else, it seems like when they get a guy like Tyson Fury, they blow up and everyone wants to train with them. But yeah, like you said, they hasn't really had that happen for him. And could win trainer of the year though if he can talk Tyson Fury into fighting for undisputed, and he wins undisputed heavyweight. He could.
Yeah. He beat a top, because Dillian Whyte definitely a top 5 heavyweight, and then you telling me he goes on and to beat the number 1, the number 2 heavyweight for undisputed. It'd be he have a legit case. I mean, him and Derek James.
He would need a Crawford and Spence not to happen. I mean, anyone who wants to win Fighter of the Year or Trainer of the Year, they need Crawford and Spence not to happen, because the winner of that probably takes both.
Yeah.
Especially if Spence wins, because he has Charlo fighting for undisputed, and then he'll have a Spence fighting for undisputed. I'm talking about Derek James.
Yeah, Derek James.
So if he trains 2 fighters for an undisputed fight, and they both win. It's hard to argue that he doesn't deserve the trainer of the year.
Exactly. No, definitely, man. We'll see though, man.
So, barring him retiring, first of all, let's address that. Do you guys believe he's retiring?
No, and that's funny. The funny thing, the thing I didn't like was he said I made a promise to my wife after the Wilder fight, right? And then he's like, yeah, but now I'm gonna keep the promise. But it's like if you get that call for Usyk or Joshua for undisputed fight, the fact that Tyson Fury always calls himself, I'm a fighting man. He's going for that fight. He's gonna take that fight. There's no way that he doesn't take that fight. It's more money. He's the A side now, right? So I think even like I said, even whoever wins those 3 belts, it doesn't matter. I think Tyson Fury's A side.
I agree.
He just out biggest crowd in Europe ever, 94,000. That's A side material right there, man. So we'll see, man. I will hope that we could get that fight. And on that note, Joel, you definitely you said something, and it was something I was thinking before. You talked about this being a golden era of boxing, man. And I truly think that 2022, it's hard to compare just the first half that we have so far. It's hard to compare any of the recent years to the quality of fights and the value of fights that we had to date in these recent years.
No, and the consistency, bro. Next week, next week we got Shakur Stevenson versus Oscar Valdez in a unification fight. And on the same day on DAZN, we have Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor for undisputed for whoever likes watching the ladies fight. Yep. And so it's like this is next week. And then guess what? The next week after that, we got Bivol versus Canelo. It's like I don't remember ever having a year like this in boxing. And I feel like we're in a golden era of boxing. And it's frustrating us hardcores that we see this and that when you talk to a casual and they find out you're a boxing YouTuber or you're a boxing fan, they go, yeah, but boxing is dead. And you're like, bro, if you knew the fights that were going on, like, hey, look, you wouldn't be saying those comments, and especially the purses that are coming out right now.
And if you would have kept going, the week after Canelo Bivol, we got another undisputed fight.
Yeah, we got Charlo Castano. It's like, listen, I could go on and on, man. This is gonna be a year to remember, and this is a great time for us YouTubers, you Ezra, you Truth. We're gonna have a lot to talk about, which is why, I almost find myself like, damn, I was on Twitter all day on one of those spaces. I was on Twitter all day tweeting. And it's because I love this game, bro. And the way the sport is right now, I don't see this shit slowing down.
No, not at all. And it's all set up, like you said, all these undisputed. Now everybody's trying to undispute. Everybody's trying to unify. So it's all set up for just great fights. Sometimes it takes years to build. Like, why don't we have this happen every year? Sometimes it takes some years as builders to get to this point. But we're at this point basically in every weight class to get this all settled. And if we end with Terrence Crawford versus Earl Spence, and we end with Fury versus Usyk or Joshua, I mean, what a way to end the year of what already has been a great year of boxing.
And you know what, Ezra, I think kind of the part of the reason why we're getting where we are now, because gone are the days of fighters on the Wheaties box, right? Gone are the days of fighters on commercials, right? So if you're not a Tank Davis knocking guys out, if you're not a freaking transcontinental superstar like Canelo Alvarez, you have to do something in this boxing game that sets you apart now, right? So now having that one belt and defending it for a long time, they're looking at you like, hey, you need to unify. What's going on? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's part of the reason why we're getting these fights is because fighters are trying to build their profiles. There's no more commercials for you. There's no more, the ads are slim to none nowadays, right? So and the endorsements aren't as lucrative or as big as they used to be as well. So I think this kind of forcing fighters into these big fights to try to make these names for themselves at these early stages in their career, man. Like you got Devin Haney and Kambosos. That's another undisputed fight. You know what I'm saying? So it's looking real good, man. Definitely.
Listen to this. At 35, we have an undisputed fight, Haney Kambosos. 140 is already undisputed with Josh Taylor. There's heavy rumors that Spence and Crawford is gonna fight. That's gonna be for undisputed. 54, that the Charlo Castano fight is already signed, sealed, and delivered. That's gonna be for undisputed. So from 35 to 54, we already have either undisputed champion or fights that are going to lead up to being undisputed. Mm-hmm. And then if you skip 60, you go to 68, that's already undisputed. Mm-hmm. So it's like we're in the golden era of boxing. And I'm glad this is recorded and this is going to be on here for history, because in 20 years down the line, when people come back to this video and people go, whoa, these guys saw what they were living. People are not living in the moment. People are focused in on fights that they're not getting because of the Top Rank and PBC and all that. No, focus in on the fights we are getting because it's fantastic. And the thought of, you know, the winner of Joshua Usyk versus Tyson Fury, it's become must see after this performance. It's become must see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. And Fury, I mean, I don't think we could doubt. Like, I mean, well, let's see the pay-per-view numbers come in, but it seems like he's a star, right? I mean, I think it's gonna be hard to argue now that this guy's a star in boxing. It seems like when he fights, it's a big deal. I'm getting texts today from like people that, you know, barely watch boxing, like, hey, what time's the Fury fight? What time is it on? And it's on a weird time today, and people still were aware that it was on early. They just wanted to make sure they knew exactly what time he'd be stepping in the ring. So I think the star power is definitely coming back. I think people like overvalue like the star thing or I think they remember as every era had like 6 or 7 stars, and it's like that's not really been the case. You know, you always usually have 3 to 2 to maybe even 1 star. That's always the way it's been. It's never been you have, because the NBA doesn't even have that many stars. I mean, that's the honest truth of it. There's like LeBron, Steph Curry, and then the drop off is like huge compared to those 2 guys. So I think that there's a lot of things that they use against boxing that aren't real. And it's just, we just get used to saying them, you know what I mean? So that's why I think we're going on right now.
I think that was a great point, and I think that this fight will determine how big of a star he is, because Dillian Whyte is not a known name in America, right? No. Let's be honest. And this probably was the worst undercard of the year.
By far.
So granted, you had a lot of people in the building, but if this does, I want to say, maybe is 300 fair to say that this is a success?
250, I would say 250 in America, or it does in Europe. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because
to be honest, I'm not anticipating good numbers for this fight.
I'm not either, but you know, but that's why I said that the pay-per-view numbers I think will definitely be telling, because with Dillian Whyte, especially, like, nobody really knows him in America, with a very super subpar undercard, if he can pull in 250 to 300, I think we talking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No. And even if the numbers come out low, let's just say he did 100,000. I'm throwing out a number. He did 100,000. I think I would, if I'm Bob Arum, I'm not concerned, because you know damn well that knockout is going to be in a top 10 sports center. Tyson Fury's a good talker, and he's going to build off these last 3 knockout wins, particularly the first 2 Wilder fights, which were big fights here in America. A lot of, you know, Americans, we know who Wilder is. Even the casuals know who Wilder is. You know, so he knocked him out twice. And then let's say you're flicking on the channel because you're a baseball fan, a basketball fan, and SportsCenter top 10, the number 3 is Tyson Fury knocking somebody out with 1 punch. You're going to be like, who is this guy? Let me look at his Instagram. Let me follow him. And then, you know, he's going to do the media tour. He's going to go on Joe Rogan. He's going to go on the Breakfast Club and all these other Vlad TV. Maybe, who knows? He's going to do the runs. He's such a good talker. He's going to sell himself. And I think he's going to be a star. And that whole retirement thing, I don't believe it either. I ain't get to say that. You guys said you guys don't believe it. Let me say it. I don't believe it. There's way too much money on the table. He's still 33, right? You said, Ezra?
Yes, 33.
33. Come on, that's still young. He's and the heavyweights also age well, if anything. You know what I'm saying? We remember Klitschko, he fought for like, it almost felt for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So he's gonna age well. Maybe he does step away, vacates the title, and just comes back and goes, "Hey, I'm lineal. I don't care about that belt." So he did it before, you know, when he retired, when he beat Klitschko. So I think he's going to become a star, and this was a star-making performance, especially 94,000, the biggest fight in Europe history of a continent. Yeah, that's insane.
What we do right now is we question star power, right? So like everybody questions Earl Spence star power or Tank Davis star power, right? And you just got to look where the money is, right? They're not going to keep putting Earl Spence and Tank Davis on pay-per-view and paying them top money unless they're stars, unless they're getting return on value. I promise you, whatever pay-per-view numbers are coming out, whatever that is, it doesn't matter. I guarantee they are getting return on value on those fights, because these guys are businessmen. They're not there to lose money. So if they're paying Tyson Fury $30 million to fight, that's because they know they know what the number is, and they know where the profit is on it, and they know they ain't doing it just to impress me. I promise you that. They're not paying them $30 million just so I'm impressed by it.
Yeah.
Because what he's worth because they know the value coming back. Same thing with Earl Spence. Same thing with Tank Davis. I think that's another thing we have is we have a lot of the people in the media that hate boxing for some reason. They cover boxing, but they hate it, and they want to hate on all the stars we have. And it's like, hey, Earl Spence is doing numbers. We got to stop denying it. What are we getting out of denying his numbers? I don't understand.
That's true. Yeah, and I think that's going to be telling too. That's why I think the numbers for this bout is kind of more important because you had Fury with a I think it was a $29 million a purse. You had Dillian Whyte with a $7.4 million purse, and then the winner got an extra $4 million. Well, and so actually, so now Fury walks out with $33 million. Yeah. So it's very important to see what that gate did and what those numbers did, and if Top Rank / and Frank Orn, if those guys can, if they recouped, right?
Yeah,
and because we heard loud and proud that Terrence Crawford was losing money, right?
Yeah,
so I just want to hear.
Lost the house in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Let's see the numbers. Let's see if we can build a house in Beverly Hills.
Yeah, he was losing millions on him, but still paying him and willing to do pay-per-views with him even after he left. So he's still losing millions on him. And the writers run with this. I don't get why. And I don't get why it even matters. I don't care if the promoter loses millions on the fight. If they're still willing to throw the pay-per-view, right, then that's on them to do that. Why do I care? Why am I there to I care that this guy's losing millions on it? I don't
bro. When I'm on Twitter and people arguing like, yeah, but the money and the this and the that, I'm like, bro, you're not getting paid. I don't give a shit how much you guys making. As long as I'm getting the fights I want. Like, you think I care what the split of Spence Crawford is? Yeah. I want to see the fight. Now, if I'm Bud manager or I'm Spence manager, then I want to know what the splits are because I'm getting a check. I'm not getting a check. So I agree with you, man. It needs to be more about the sport and less about the business.
And I think at this level, and even to bring that Bud situation up, at this level, there's no split, right? At this level, Al Heyman should go to Terrence Crawford and say, hey, how much do you feel comfortable fighting Errol Spence for? Don't worry about his pockets. How much does Terrence Crawford need to step through those ropes? If you get rid of the 60-40 notion, the 50-50 notion, listen, we're going to give you the number you want if it's feasible and 50-50 on the back end of pay-per-view, gate, all of that other good stuff. And I think that's how you get these fights made. I think you got to kind of get away from this guy's going to be 60-40. He brings 3 belts. He brings this. And this is a fight that we all are going to watch, right? So I don't care if Errol Spence doesn't have 3 belts, I'm still watching this fight. Yeah, this is still the biggest welterweight fight since probably Manny and Floyd, and then in importance-wise of Tito and Oscar, in my opinion, right?
No, you're right.
What number do you need? We'll do a split on the back end for the pay-per-view numbers and stuff like that. But yeah, let's get in the ring like that, man. That way, nobody's fucking butthurt over, you know what I'm saying? Oh, 60-40, 55. Come on, man.
That's what bringing it back to the heavyweights. That's why we didn't get Wilder Joshua. You know what I'm saying? There was going to be a lot of money, man. The buzz for that fight, when I would go to my barbershop, when I would talk to casuals in the street, when I would go to the boxing gym to work out and talk amongst the hardcores, that fight created so many arguments. It had a super amount of buzz. You know, heavyweight boxing is always big money, and the fight never happened because of problems with the splits and the this and the guarantees. Or is it going to be in the UK? And it's like, come on. So I agree with you, Truth. It needs to be. We need to figure out a system of how to get these fighters happy with the amount of money they're getting paid, but as well as keeping the consumer, meaning us, the fans, happy.
Well, and the thing too is like, why do we give a damn like what the pay-per-view does? I don't care. Earl Spence looked good last week. I don't give a damn what he sold, honestly. That's the business part of it. I don't care, honestly. I don't care what he sold. I don't care the number. I don't care if it was high or low. I don't care. Now, I have a guess in my head. Like I said that Spence versus Crawford, I think it does around 450 to 500. Now, people think that's low. That's fine, though. But I'm not rooting for it. I hope it does $1 million. I hope it does $2 million. I don't care. I just want to see the fight, and I want to talk about the fight after. We get always at the end of the fight, we're talking business. I don't get that. I know we have to talk business when it comes to boxing because that's just
it's a sport. It's a sport.
Yeah, you have to do it. But you better have an opinion on it if you're going to cover boxing. But it's not the main thing I take from the storyline, right? That's not the main thing I take from the storyline at the end.
The only thing I will say is I do care about what the numbers are in the sense that has nothing to do with this is when I'm talking with casuals, because casuals always try to tell me boxing's dead, and when I go, oh yeah, Caleb Plant versus Canelo just did 800,000 pay-per-view at $70 a pop. You do the math. And then that's not including the gate and the sponsorship on the ring, that's a Tecate and all this shit. And when I start saying that Canelo got a $40 million guarantee for one fight, and your favorite basketball player getting paid $30 million a year. So I like to have these arguments, not necessarily for like, you know, for people like us, hardcores.
Yeah.
More so when I'm talking to a casual and they trying to tell me boxing's dead, and I go, all right, your favorite basketball player getting paid $32 million a year, and my favorite fighter, Canelo, got paid $40 million in one fight. And that's not including he fought 2 other times in 1 year. So you do the math. You get what I'm saying? So I like the numbers in that sense, but you're right. When we're talking amongst the hardcores, fuck the numbers, man. Who do you have winning and why? And then if we disagree, then let's have a debate.
Exactly.
Yeah, because you have like you know, there's not everyone follows boxing like we do, right? There's people that like boxing, but they don't follow it like we do. This is a intense way to follow it, right? And not everybody can do this. But when you're talking for like when they hear you and they want to hear your opinion, I think it really stalls out their interest when you go straight to business. I think that when you talk about the fight and actually what this fighter's accomplishment and what he can do going forward, I think that's a lot more interesting. You know, a lot of times when you get to the end of the NFL week, no one's like, oh, you know, what was their attendance? No one gives a damn about the attendance.
Nobody's asking how much Tom Brady making a year.
No.
I think right now the only heavyweight that, because as we were talking and we sitting here thinking, I'm just thinking like what heavyweight right now would even be close to giving Tyson Fury a good fight. I know he spars with Jared Anderson. I'm not sure if I'm pretty sure I don't think Jared Anderson is ready to be under those lights. But as far as skill wise, I mean, I know he's there. He got some skill. You know, there were rumors saying that in the lead up to Tyson to the second Wilder fight that he knocked, not the last Wilder fight, that he knocked Tyson Fury out. But I mean, we're not worried about that. But I just don't think it's any heavyweights right now that could really that could really trouble him. I don't think so right now. I really don't.
When I thought he fought the third Wilder fight, I didn't think he looked as good as he fought in the second one. I thought he looked too heavy. I thought he looked a little sloppy. And I was like, oh, I wonder if he's gonna get a little lazy with this. But then in this fight, he changed his whole body for this. Where he can move around the ring and everything like that. When I saw that, I don't think he's beatable. I mean, not at least from the current landscape of what I see there. I mean, you have Joe Joyce. He kind of plots, though. He's very good. He's not going to get knocked out by Fury. I can guarantee that. But he's not going to be able to catch him, I don't think. And I don't think Fury's going to get tired to where he breaks him. You have Dubois, who, you know, got broken by Joyce with a jab. I imagine Fury would probably do a similar thing to him. Joshua, who looked like, you know, has the parts of it, but now that Fury's got power, you imagine that eliminates him. And like Joe said, his brain's not all there. His mental game with him is not all there. Usyk, I'm really questioning the size of Usyk. I think that if he's on the outside getting those long shots from Fury, I think that's a lot of trouble for him. So, and there was times where Joshua did keep him on the outside, especially like body work. He kept him on the outside, Usyk. So I just can't see the landscape right now. I can't see anyone beating Fury.
I think Joshua can. I think if anybody can do it, I think it is Anthony Joshua. But I'll tell you, man, he would have to get on a plane, fly to SoCal, and beg Andrew Ruiz for his heart back, right? So other than that, I don't think he can do it, man. Even in the Usyk fight, I'm like, hey, pull it together, right? Lace your boots up and walk forward, right? And I think he could have got Usyk out of there. I mean, truthfully, I think he could have got him out of there, possibly cut off the ring, corner him, and hit him with some heavy shots. I think that since Usyk has moved up to heavyweight, I think Derek Chisora had a little bit of success plotting forward. A couple of those rounds, especially early on in that fight, they were really close. You know what I mean? But trying to just outbox Usyk, that's not going to work. Not for AJ, because AJ's in there. He's boxing, but he's thinking. Usyk is not thinking. And in that split second, he's getting out of the way. Like I said, Usyk is the heavyweight Lomachenko. You got to be able to move.
Yeah.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I actually predicted knockout of the year. I predicted that Joshua was going to knock out Alexander Usyk and win knockout of the year. I was that confident in Anthony Joshua, but I was not expecting him to come out with that weird ass game plan, which like he did not fight the fight that I thought he was going to, and that costed him the fight. I thought he should have been more aggressive. I thought he should have known he's the bigger man, known he's the bigger puncher, and he didn't, which is why it worries me. Why I don't give him as much of a chance against Tyson Fury. Now, if you're guaranteeing me, like you said, he had his heart back and he's ready to go, and even with his chin problems, he's always been a little bit chinny. I feel he hits hard enough where he could have kept Fury at bay, where he wouldn't be as comfortable as coming forward like how he did against Wilder. And although Wilder hits harder, I feel like he has a lot less skills than Anthony Joshua, you know, but he's the only one who I feel has a chance. But again, would I pick him? No, because two things: his chin, and I just don't think he has the mentality to fight through fire. And you know, and like Wilder, keep getting up and keep fighting through and keep moving forward. I don't think he's built like that.
His stamina not there either. Let's be real. I don't think Anthony Joshua, for the pace that Fury was set in that fight, he doesn't have the stamina to keep up with.
I mean, to that stamina point, I do remember him getting tired against Klitschko like around the 6th or 7th round, but then he turned it up at the end and got the stoppage.
But Klitschko ain't as active as Fury. Fury got weight. That's the thing, man. At this heavyweight game, Fury's bag of tricks, Fury's tool bag is crazy.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
His toolbox is crazy.
He's like an athletic Klitschko in a way, because you know you got to remember he out Klitschko, because that's what started off this whole run, right? And yeah, he's just more athletic. He could do everything Klitschko does, but he's just more athletic. It's still almost a perfect package. You know what I mean?
Again, knowing what Anthony Joshua could do makes the fight so interesting for me, but it's just I don't know if he'll do it, because that leaning back shit that he was doing against White, it may cost him against Joshua, who's taller, longer, and at times goes to the body well. So maybe when you're leaning back, he can maybe go jab to the body or maybe hit you with a left hook to the body. And I think a lot of people dismiss just how powerful Anthony Joshua is. I think Anthony Joshua can crack. Like, I think he has legit power. He can knock anybody out, I feel, in my opinion.
I wouldn't be Usyk, honestly. In the rematch, I wouldn't be surprised. I think that everybody's kind of going one way because we have the evidence now that Usyk won that fight. So now everybody's like, it's impossible for Joshua to win this fight. I don't think that. I think that the exact evidence you saw going into that fight, exactly what you called fight knockout of the year, is still that same evidence is still there. Now, he's got to define what style he's going to fight and implant it early instead of like coming in and just standing there in the middle and just trying to figure out what's happening in the fight. And after 4 rounds, try to do it. He's got to implement what he's going to do early. But I do think that there's a chance he wins that fight, and I wouldn't be stunned he wins that fight. Honestly, I wouldn't be stunned at all.
He got to control the pace. He got to control the pace of that fight. He got to set the tone. He got to come out throwing bombs, cutting the ring off, moving. If you let a guy like Usyk, man, start to just freaking get bouncy on you, moving around and shit and stuff like that, it's not going to end well. It's not going to end well. But like I say, I think the second Ruiz fight was telling, because as a champion, obviously you're in Dubai, you wherever you're at, you're trying to get your belts back. But at no point in time did he try to sit down and engage with Andy Ruiz. Not one time. He moved around. They got Andy Ruiz to Dubai. They fed him pizza. He came in there 400 freaking pounds, probably, right? He came in there, he did 300 and something high, like, right? He was like 3 something, right? 290.
I think he came like 280 or something.
Yeah, 280, 290. I'm messing around, but 280, 290. He came in there super huge. And he couldn't move it. And Joshua moved around the ring and pot shot because he didn't want to engage. He's going to have whatever sparring partners he has, whatever his coach there, they got to get him some tough sparring, man. He got to have some doghouse sparring, because that's the only way that we're going to see that old Anthony Joshua back that got up and knocked Klitschko out. That freaking, you know what I mean? In the beginning of the Ruiz fight, right? That was taking it to him at MSG and looking real good until he got caught, you know, so.
I don't think it's so much his sparring. I think he needs a new trainer, and I don't like his new trainer. Yo, so this motherfucker goes around America, talks to Robert Garcia, Ronnie Shields, Eddie Reynoso, Virgil Hunter, all qualified trainers who I feel would have been good for him. I'm not so high on Virgil Hunter, but whatever. Yeah. If that's who he would have wanted to go with, cool. And he ends up not hiring none of them and promoting somebody from within his camp. A guy nobody here has ever heard. Have you guys ever heard of Angel Fernandez training one champion? One. And this is an era with 4 belts, bro. So the fact that he did that worries me, and which is why I'm picking Usyk to beat him. Yeah. And it's not because I don't think Joshua is talented. I don't think he has power or whatever. Is, bro, what are you doing? Your problem was within your camp, and you're promoting somebody from within. To me, the perfect person to train him would have been Teddy Atlas, because his problems is mental. And Teddy Atlas is somebody who trains your mind. I don't know if you guys remember the thing with Tim Bradley. We're firemen. He got in his head, and he went out there and stopped Brandon Rios. Yes, Brandon Rios was a little bit washed by that point. But point is, Tim Bradley was never a puncher, and Brandon Rios was always a tough guy, and he got the stoppage there. Yeah. So I feel he should have went that route But the fact that he's promoting somebody from within this camp, if I'm not mistaken, the guy's in his early 30s, guy's like 33, 34. So not even like a seasoned old guy who, oh yeah, maybe you never heard of him, but he's been in the game for 40 years. You know, he knows a lot of people. You know, he was an assistant trainer for so-and-so. It's like you promote. It just looked like he walked into a bar and was like, you, Fernandez, you Mexican, Cuban, I don't know, Puerto Rican. Yeah, y'all make good fighters. Come train me. It was almost like that. He chose his trainer like that.
Let me counter it because we had this talk before, bro. I think we have a whole podcast on it. But I'm going to tell you right now, in boxing, it's all about what you do, right? And someone emphasizing what you're good at. And that's why you see a lot of like father trainers, right? Because they know their son, right? They know what his body's capable of. They know what he's going to do. And in boxing, it's always a celebrity trainer, which people like to do, right? He's with this guy now, and this is a big name. Doesn't necessarily mean that's going to work because it's not really like football or basketball where you get Phil Jackson, right? Phil Jackson's got to implement his system. A system works different in basketball because it's moving parts. In boxing, you only have one part. You can't adjust. You can't make him fit into you can't make a square fit into like a square fit into a circle, right? So he brought a guy that is familiar with his game, right? He's been watching him this whole time. He only really knows Anthony Joshua. And he brought this guy up because he says, all these other guys are going to try to change me. I don't think I'm at the point in my career where I should be changing anymore, right? I'm beyond that point now. I am what I am. This guy says, I know what you like. I know what you're good at. And I've never seen this guy train, so I'm not going to say that he's going to do all these things, but I think this is the thinking of it, right? I think we think Teddy Atlas and all that. Teddy Atlas is a part-time trainer now. You know what I mean? Is he really committed to training Teddy Atlas? Is he really going to step in and do all the things Anthony Joshua needs? Is he going to go to England, right? Is he going to go to England and do that?
Why not?
I don't know. I don't know if he will. These guys are still.
And to be quite honest, I think Anthony Joshua needs to leave England. He needs to get out his comfort zone. He's too comfortable out there. He's too comfortable. He's being babied out there, bro.
How old is Anthony Joshua?
What was that?
How old is Anthony Joshua?
He's 32, 31 or 32.
Let me tell you something right now about boxers in their 30s. They ain't going to change. There's not a lot of change going to happen for them. When they're in their 30s like that, they're pretty much who they are. Now, you could bring out something, like as far as mentally, you're definitely not going to change it mentally. You're not going to get mentally stronger in a later age. You won't. The mental things you do, that's your habits. You're going to do those things. Now, can you emphasize his game? Yes. And I think that's what they're looking at it. They're saying, look, you're good at doing this. You're good at doing this. Let's emphasize that. But I think.
But what? Hold on. Weren't we just praising SugarHill right now? Wasn't we just doing that?
That's a technique thing. That's a technique thing. That's a technique thing, bro. He wasn't turning over. He wasn't sitting down. That's a trainable thing that you could train and change. You talk about a guy's mental at 30-something years old, man, that have made hundreds of millions of dollars already, man. It's I think you're right. Well, he still should have made that change. But I also understand sticking with a guy that's close with him, that knows him. But it's just like, where was this guy at when all of this stuff was happening? Granted, he wasn't your head coach, but that's kind of what
this is a boxing YouTube page and everything, but I am going to use an MMA as an example here. Conor McGregor, he goes and fights Floyd Mayweather, right? And he's going to use his game, right? He's going to use an MMA game in boxing, right? That's what they do. He doesn't do that. What happens is when he tries to do all these things that worked in MMA, they didn't work in boxing anymore, right? Once that didn't work, he wanted to switch everything he did because it didn't work in boxing. So he went and got boxing trainers, right? And when he went to MMA, what did he become? A lesser fighter, because now he was just a club level boxer going to MMA. It screwed up everything. And at his age, you can't do that. You can't change everything anymore. It's not going to happen. That's when I know guys are retired, like Jared Hurd. He was to become a defensive fighter. At 30-something years old, Jared Hurd was going to become a defensive fighter. From that point on, he was never the same. He had actually lost it mentally because he could no longer take the damage anymore, and he wanted to be defensive. And once he started getting hit, he goes, everything I worked on doesn't work anymore. Now in the 5th round, I got to become a slugger and work my way back into this fight. It'll screw up everything. I can't see. To me, if he got Teddy Atlas, I'd pick him to lose by landslide. I'd be honest with you.
So you think he made the right decision? If you're Anthony Joshua, what would you have done?
But I don't think he needs drastic change. So I do
I never said anything about his skills, which is why I suggested Teddy Atlas. And Teddy Atlas, on top of that, first of all, let's act like he didn't train. He wasn't the head trainer of Mike Tyson throughout his whole amateur career. You get what I'm saying?
No, he's a trainer. I'm not doubting that.
He trained Michael Moore to become heavyweight champion. He trained Tim Bradley in the latest stage of his career. Let's not shit on Teddy Atlas.
No. I really like Teddy Atlas. He's actually one of my favorite guys. But if you remember Michael Moore, what happened to him mentally when he fought George Foreman, even with Teddy Atlas?
No, he got knocked out. He was winning the fight.
He was, but he wasn't doing what Teddy Atlas was telling him to do, right? He told him, don't stay in front of him. Quit staying in front of him. He's setting you up for one shot. He couldn't do it. Some guys, you're just not going to get in their head, right? Some guys are just head kicks in certain things. I think Joshua, he's a high-level fighter. I'm not even doubting how good of a heavyweight he is. He's a really good heavyweight. He is. But I don't think that if you're going to say, I'm going to change your whole game at this point in his career, with, like you said, Truth, with all the millions, with all the success he's already had, it's going to be real hard to do. I do think that he need to change the scenery. I think that part of his issue is that he's super comfortable. And that dog, I feel like that dog has left him, right? That's why I say he needs to fly back to SoCal and go get that dog back from Andy Ruiz. But I think that he definitely needs a change of scenery, just somebody that going, because the thing is, the Joshua that we see, and I think that's a good thing. The Joshua that we need, so it's not like, hey, he's won his whole career being a boxer. Now he's running into somebody that can outbox him, and now he needs to change and become a dog. We've seen Joshua put the gas on and be a dog. This is the Joshua that we know and love. He just lost it after the Ruiz fight, which, and then the fight after that, obviously it showed again, and we need him to get back to who he was, right? So even if he would have said, you know what, I'm not changing my trainer, I would have been cool with that too. But at the end of the day, whatever he's doing, he has to get back to the Anthony Joshua that is powerful, that comes forward, that puts that jab traffic in the air, and he got to move, man. He got to come forward and win. All of the boxing, you're not, that's not you. It's just not him, right? And he looks weird doing it. He's big. He looks kind of mechanical and robotic when he's doing it. I don't know like what they're practicing in the gym that makes him feel like he can do it. But I think it's not even that. I just truly think that he's nervous. He was chinny all those years. When you don't just become chinny, but once the world seen that he was chinny, I think that kind of affected him. And it's like, you know what? I don't want to get knocked out anymore. But if there are 10 seconds left in that 12th round against Usyk, he's knocked out. So we still got to that same point, man. I just think that we need that aggressive Joshua back, and then that's what's gonna be the difference in his second Usyk fight. Yeah.
So all right. So let me, because I ain't get an answer from Ezra. If you're Anthony Joshua, and this question's for both of you, if you're Anthony Joshua, who would you have trained? Who would you have chosen to be your trainer? Would you have kept Robert McCracken? Would you have, did what he did with Angel Fernandez, or an American coach, or somebody else that I may not have thought of?
I'm not sure. Honestly, I'm not sure, because I'm not sure what they're looking to do. I would think, though, I don't think that I don't think Teddy Atlas, I don't think that's I think he's more of a celebrity now than he is like a good trainer anymore. Like, as far as is he going to be committed? He's older. It's a lot of energy to train someone, especially heavyweight.
Bradley, he trained Bradley not long ago. That wasn't 10 years ago. That was what, 4 or 5 years ago?
No, it might have been more than it might have been closer to about 10 years ago. Honestly, it was a long time. So
I'm I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I don't know who I go. I think that there's a lot of ideas. If I'm saying just purely on style, like what I wanted to see with him is style. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like I said, what they did with Tyson Fury is amazing. I think that he's long enough and strong enough and hits hard enough to have a style like that. But they've had success on where he's at. Now, one bad fight when you're fighting, he has, to me, the best collection of guys he's fought, right? Of talented guys. He's number one in my opinion. Right, so you're gonna lose some of those fighting top guys. You're gonna lose, and Usyk's a pound for pound talent. He lost a pound for pound talent. I don't think you throw away the whole team just because he lost a pound for pound talent. I don't.
How he lost though?
Yeah, how he lost, and that's the second time. You know what I mean? The first time when he tried the typical Joshua, right? Then he got knocked out, and then he tried this new boxing. He was able to escape with his belts back. This new version of Joshua, and then he tried to box it and he lost. If I'm Joshua, I would have went and felt like a Buddy McGirt, man. Like somebody like Buddy that is gonna work well. Like we say, it was gonna work well on what you do best. Just kind of refine some tools, and help him out a little bit. But I mean, besides staying home, I would have probably went and tried to see about like a Buddy McGirt. I wouldn't even necessarily say a Derek James. I think the style that Derek James likes to fight, I don't think that would suit Anthony Joshua. But I think maybe a Buddy, or I guess staying home. We'll see. Got a couple months. We'll see.
By the way, Teddy Atlas is 65 years old. and he trained Bradley 6 years ago, and he trained Vosdick in 2019, so that was 3 years ago. So again, not like we're not talking, oh, his last time he trained was, Roy Jones was still #1 pound for pound. It wasn't that long ago. And he looks healthy. He doesn't look like.
But if I'm Anthony Joshua, that selection only makes me nervous because I don't know if your heart is into it, and I don't want you training me, and then in the middle of you training me, then you realize that your heart is not in training anymore. But now we're getting ready for this fight.
Teddy Atlas has always said that he's very selective as to who he trains. That's his motto. He goes, for me to train you, it doesn't have nothing to do with the money. It has to do we train for like a week or two, and I have to feel if there's chemistry, and that's the way it would have been. And I don't look at him as not being a dedicated person. He has a full-blown podcast right now at 65 years old. So you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't doubt his commitment if he commits. If he goes, yes, I'm gonna be your trainer, Joshua. I can't doubt that from him.
It kind of reminds me of like De La Hoya when he always had like switch trainers like every 2 fights, and he had he had Floyd Mayweather Sr. He had
Barry Stein.
He had Freddie Roach. They're all great trainers. Couldn't say like, oh, that's not a great trainer. These are all great trainers. To me, it's when you're starting to do that, you're not really looking at what the real problem is. You're just saying this guy's going to make it better. This guy's going to make it better. This guy's going to make it better. It never really did for De La Hoya. It never really worked that way. To me, it honestly almost diminished the product over time because you're just kind of relearning someone else's game every time you go to training camp. So I don't know, but I'm curious to see. I think keeping it in house, I think that's more interesting to me. I want to see.
Okay, all right.
If he loses, where does he go from there, though? That's the question.
Oh, that might be the end of it. You know what I mean? But that's how you brought up the Deontay Wilder fight. That's fight's still huge.
That's still a big fight. But like I don't know what's up with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder, last I heard, he wants to do ayahuasca and do this, and he's thinking of retirement. And he fought for the money and to have enough money to take care of his daughter's medical bills, which is a great thing. And he says he already got that money, so there's nothing he needs to prove. He already was world champion, bronze medalist, a lot of money. So
I'll tell you this: that heavyweight landscape is definitely ain't the same without Wilder in the mix, man. Because he definitely made things exciting.
Yeah, that's only when guys lose. You know what I mean? Especially at the highest level, they kind of think like, well, what's the point of keep going? You know what I mean? Like I already proved what I need to prove, and then if I can't beat Fury, you know what I mean? Like he's the best guy. It kind of just lose motivation a little bit on what to go forward with. And like I said, I mean, but the thing is, there's a lot of great matches for him to me still. You know what I mean? Usyk, Joshua, Fury, Wilder, you could do a few matchups there, and I think people would pay and be excited about, but we might not get that.
Yeah.
I feel like go ahead, my bad.
I'll say it's always hard when you lose twice to the same guy. I mean, I remember watching like freaking, and I'm not saying this guy was nowhere near at the top of the heavyweight, but remember when Cal Naki was a contender coming up. I mean, I'm from Jersey, New York. I got that huge Polish community. I mean, watching him fill the Barclays up, and even watching him in the ring, man, dude was exciting. But you lose 2 straight times by stoppage to Robert Helenius, and then it's like, yeah, you're excited, you still got that community behind you, but like, what's now? Like, what's next?
Yeah,
man, it's rough. It gets rough, man.
Again, not to compare fighters, but just
no. I wasn't. No.
I know what you're saying. I'm gonna do something similar. It's kind of like Seth Mitchell. I don't know if you guys remember him in the like early 2010s.
Yeah,
he just kept getting knocked out and then kind of retired at a young age where, if he kept fighting, people would have been like, oh, he needs to retire. But it's kind of like he kind of realized like it's not worth it. I don't got it. And he just kind of walked away from his sport. Wilder might be thinking the same thing. Go, hey, listen, I made a lot of money. Listen, Wilder is not hungry. His daughters and wife are not going to go hungry. He doesn't have to work one day of his life. Yeah. He has the money. He was he made 10 title defenses of the WBC, the most prestigious belt, allegedly. He wants to ride out into the sunset.
And truthfully, Deontay Wilder went out on his shield. So I don't think he has anything to prove to anybody. I don't think his right now, Anthony Joshua's toughness is in question. Yeah. I don't think even with those lawsuits, even with the glove gate and all of that shit, I still don't think that we question Deontay Wilder's toughness at all. I think that it's kind of like a known fact that he got stopped twice, but that motherfucker sorry, but he tough as nails.
Yeah,
Who knows?
Fury goes on and beats everyone, right, and becomes undisputed, it's like it might get to the point where it's like, who gave him the toughest fight? Where there were instant classics, the Wilder one. So it might raise the stock in a loss. Those fights probably raise the stock over time. I think that's what we end up seeing.
And then after the wars, we still loved Gaddy and Ward after those wars as well. So I mean, I think I still like Deontay Wilder. I would love to see him in the ring, but he really don't have nothing to prove, to be honest.
Yeah, I think if Deontay Wilder gets in the ring right now, I think everybody watches. I think he's a great star
too. Of course, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. So
listen, I think I watched that Spielka knockout like once a week, man. Like when he just knocked him out, he just rolled in the air and just fell. Like listen, I was never a fan of Wilder's skills. I'll be honest with you. I know, Truth, you're a big Wilder guy. I was never a fan of his skills, but I never ever disrespected that power. When he knocked out Likovic and his arms locked up and all that, like the dude was exciting. When he knocked out Dominic Brazil, listen, this is something that in 10 years from now, we're going to be letting our kids know, like, hey, man, Deontay Wilder was knocking dudes out cold. He was an exciting fighter. Unfortunately, we never got the UK versus the US fight in terms of, I know we got it with the Fury, but in terms of two Olympians with Anthony Joshua and Wilder, which both had all the belts and both were undefeated at the time. So it would have been a mega fight. But I just hope that fight, I selfishly hope that fight happens, even though I know in the back of my mind, most likely Wilder's retired.
Yeah. But I think if he does come back, I think he comes back for that.
I mean, that's something I feel like that would motivate him enough. There is enough juice to squeeze there in terms of why am I fighting? Because that in the interview I saw, that's kind of the gist of what he was trying to say. Like, why am I fighting? I already got the money. I already was champion. I won a bronze medal. Like, why am I fighting?
Yeah, truthfully.
Beating Joshua, he will have a why. Like, oh no, this was the guy from my generation that people were saying, doubting me. And yeah, it didn't happen for back then for whatever reason, but fuck it. Let's have it one more go. It'll be another UK guy. So at least when I go to UK, I can brag to these guys like, yeah, Tyson Fury beat me, but I got one of yours too.
Exactly. And I think that especially, man, there's a certain group of guys, right, of boxing fans who like to keep a tab on the top ranked fighters versus the PBC fighters. But one thing that we definitely know is that PBC doesn't send their best fighters to fight on Top Rank. And just how I think we kind of knew, but it was odd to see a guy like Sean Porter go over to ESPN, even though that fight was mandated. He could have just simply chosen to say, hey, I'm not fighting this fight. But I think that the loyalty and the business that he's done with Al Heyman, along with this being a kind of later on in his career, I believe they let that fight happen. And so remember, part of the politics with Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder was, where the zone and I'm not going on your platform because apparently, he was offered a ton of money or whatever like that. But I think that if these guys sit down and have that talk, whether it be with Al Heyman, whether it be with Tom Brown or whoever is in Deontay Wilder, Shelly Finkel, whoever's in Deontay Wilder's corner, I think that we could get that fight. I mean, granted, a bunch of stuff that have to happen, Usyk, Alias, Fury, whatever. But I think that now we could get that fight. So I wouldn't be surprised in 2023, right, if Joshua loses here to Usyk. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Joshua Wilder fight next year.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, I would like that fight. I think that fight does huge numbers too. I think that we put overemphasis on these belts that they're needed for these matchups. I don't think that matchup needs any belts.
No, not that one. Not that one. Listen, and Ezra, me and you disagree on that point that you just made.
The belts.
This fight, no. I don't need a fucking belt. Whatever. 12 rounds. Make it 10 rounds. That shit ain't going past 8 anyways. I really don't care if it's a belt in the line anyways. Somebody's going to sleep. I love that fight. I don't need a belt to justify, me being excited for it. I want to see that fight.
It was the heavyweight landscape's about to change probably, because if you're talking about retirement, he may not be retiring this time, but his retirement is coming close. I do imagine that. And I do think that if he fought for undisputed, that'd probably be it, because he probably doesn't see anywhere else to go from there. I think Anthony Joshua loses. I think we're pretty close to talking about retirement for him too, because he has made a lot of money in the sport, and to restart and build back up to get to those titles again, might not want that in him. If Wilder retires, so at that point, then you would have a clean landscape of all the champions and top guys, and then it'd be a battle of all these next and up and coming guys. So that it could be the cleaning of the heavyweight division too.
And that's one of the big things I talk about as we sit here and we talk about this golden era that we in boxing. and money divisions like heavyweight and middleweight are slim, right? That's crazy to me.
Yeah. No. Don't get me started on. I don't want to start yelling and screaming that middleweight division, man. That middleweight division. Listen, out of my own pocket, I bought a duck. A duck. To me, Jaime Munguia is the biggest duck in boxing, man. Yeah, he was the mandatory for Charlo, didn't exercise that. Mandatory for Andre, didn't exercise that. Also had the option of, since the Charlo fight fell through, of fighting Adames to become Charlo's Mando, didn't exercise that either. And it's like a whole round robin in this middleweight division. It's frustrating, and it's unfortunate because the previous era with Canelo and Triple G and Daniel Jacobs and Miguel Cotto and Sergio Martinez, the previous era was good. I love that middleweight era. I don't know if you guys remember that, but that was, Paul Williams, Kelly Pavlik. We had good guys then. Now nothing's happening. We got we got Charlo fighting Selecki. No disrespect to Selecki. He's actually not as bad of a fight as people make him out to be, but it's not a fight I'm interested in.
Yeah, but I think that's a part of this strategic planning. Like I said, man, we had I knew, and especially once Canelo left Golden Boy, I knew guys like Munguia, guys like Zurdo, guys like Virgil Ortiz, guys like Ryan Garcia. I knew that they would bubble wrap these guys, right? And I think that even with Charlo the first time, I think Munguia personally would have took that fight. I think with Andre, I think Munguia personally wants to take that fight. They said that Steven Espinoza out of his own mouth said that Jaime signed and he wanted this fight. But the issue was that when he came back for who's going to view and pay-per-view rights and all of that other stuff, I think Jaime Munguia wants that fight. I just think that his promotional company is trying to leverage, that deal, or trying to just kind of keep whatever hold of whatever guys that have certain type of star power, and they want to kind of coast these guys through until they can get the big fights. And I think that's hurting these guys. We might not see Virgil Ortiz back at 147 again, right? So it's you
got to look at Golden Boy. Golden Boy doesn't have the payroll that everyone else does. You know what I mean? So they can't risk their stars. I think 100% correct. They can't risk Ryan Garcia. They can't risk, and especially we're going to risk Munguia while negotiating to get a deal on DAZN, because that's one of the only chips they have. They have 3 chips basically, and that's Virgil Ortiz, Ryan Garcia, and Munguia. People are going to try to tell you Zurdo. I'm going to tell you that they're lying and they're wrong and they're overblowing that guy's superstardom because they have 3 guys. They ain't going to risk them, and they don't have enough money to build a farm system that these other ones do. If you see PBC, they develop talent. You start seeing it. We just seen it right now with Isaac Cruz, Valenzuela. You have Frank Martin coming up. They're developing. They have a farm system. They have money to do that. Top Rank has the money to do that. Matchroom has the money to do that. Golden Boy doesn't. When they hit on someone, they need to make sure that he stays successful as long as possible. That's the old motto of boxing. They stick to it. They're going to stick to it. And yeah, I don't see these guys. I don't think any one of these guys are afraid of anyone, but I don't see their promoter really taking that chance with them. They'll pay them a comfortable amount, so where they're not begging for money, begging for the big paydays, but they're not going to take that chance of them losing anytime soon.
Where I will push back on you is Ryan Garcia. Sorry, guys. Ryan Garcia is a real young guy. So as far as how they move in his career, do I wish they were moving a little bit faster? Yes. But I'm not so up in arms, I'm more up in arms with Ryan Garcia himself. Like, shut the fuck up, bro. Not after every fight. Oh, I would have knocked both of them out. But yet you fighting to go. Like, chill, bro. So I have more problem with Ryan Garcia, how he talks, although he did say he was going to tone that down in his last.
And didn't. And came right out, right back.
Like that. So,
yeah, I know. But point is, I don't like that side of it. But as far as Virgil Ortiz, same thing. He's a young guy. Like, when he was number 1 for the WBO, I was so nervous that he was going to exercise his mandatory and fight Bud. I was going to be like, no, not because, Virgil Ortiz is a bad fighter, but because I just think he's not ready for that kind of action just yet. So I'll put those 2 to the side. But Munguia was a champion at 54, move up to 60. Andre was within network because he was both were DAZN fighters. I didn't understand why that fight didn't happen. And I'm also not sure why the Triple G fight didn't happen, because he was also from within network. I blame, listen, at some point you can't let the fighter hide behind his promoter. You can't. At some point you have to get on Instagram, get on Twitter, and start complaining. Call your promoter out. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. And that's why, to me, he is the biggest duck in boxing.
I think it's hard to do that though, because that's your boss and he's paying you a good amount of money. So you're complaining. It's like when they talked to Andrade, right, on Chicken Talk, and they asked him like, "Aren't you mad at Eddie Hearn?" And it's like, "Hey, he's paying me good money to fight these guys, right? Like, what am I gonna get mad right now when they're paying me good money?" Now, yes, I wish they did more. Yes, of course I do. I wish that they put me in these positions more. But this is the deal we have. They're gonna do what's in their contract to do. That's what they're doing to Munguia.
Okay, Ezra. Okay, why not when the Charlo fight fell through? Why not? Call up the WBC. I want to fight the number 2 guy in Carlos Adames, who's not a killer. He's not this world beater where you have to protect them. I want to fight him for the WBC mandatory, and then possibly fight Charlo. And he's already been the mandatory position and bypassed it. Fight at least Adames, who's a respectable middleweight.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because I think right now we're in the changing of the guard. I think historically, fighters, they give these fighters this one line of practice, and they say, you know what? I just fight the guys that my promoter puts in front of me. I don't control that. You line them up, I knock them down. Something to that effect. And I think because Jaime Munguia isn't active on social media that much anyway, period. So it's not like he's a fighter and he's always active and he's always talking and he's on Twitter and then he's just not talking about this. But again, you see guys like Tank, you know, kind of stepping up and saying something. Right before this Isaac Cruz fight, he was singing the same tune. Well, I just let my team handle this. I just fight the guys in front of me. But he getting so much, I don't want to say the kickback from the fans, but he is getting kickback from the fans. We want to see him in these fights. And now he's leaning towards possibly taking his own career over. We've seen that with Devin Haney, right? People talk trash about how Devin Haney is over at the zone. He's not fighting anybody. But the fact of the matter is Devin Haney at 22, 23 years old controlled his own destiny and put himself in a position to be able to have his own company and sign with Top Rank for a couple fights, right? Now, people talk about how Top Rank doesn't like to promote guys, but I do know on that presser with Cambosis, I saw DHP on the banner, right? So that means that this young guy who's working with Bob Arum is getting paid as a fighter and getting paid as a promoter, and that's important, right? You got Andre again, right? The zone was overpaying these guys because he knew the quality wasn't there. That's why all these guys were getting overpaid on the zone. But here we go again. You got this Parker fight May 21st, and then Andre's a free agent, and he can go to PBC, sign a 2-fight deal, get Charlo and freaking and get Benavidez or get, you know what I mean, or do whatever. So I think now these guys are starting to realize that, hey, I have to take some type of control over my career. But then again, you got certain guys that if they do say certain things, they'll get put on the freaking shelf, right? So it's hard. If you are not a Canelo, if you are not a big star in boxing, you have to do what the Romans do, or you will be shelved and you will not fight. Period.
Yeah, the politics of it all. And, you know, notice with the Tank, you didn't start hearing this until his deal's about done with the money team. So that's when you start hearing it. I don't think that I think that a lot of these guys are happy with the deal that they have, and they're getting paid a good amount of money to fight the guys. Like he just fought Demetrius Ballard. I guarantee you got paid pretty good for that than most people would pay him to fight Demetrius Ballard. That's why a lot of these guys are happy with these deals. Now, also, you know, I'm sure he will want that fight. There's rumors of, you know, possibly a Golovkin fight, but, you know, Golovkin's going to fight Canelo, so probably not. Yeah. But I'm saying, you know, there's rumors of these things. I think the Golovkin fight not happening is more on Golovkin than it is Munguia or Golden Boy. I'm pretty sure they would take that fight. I think that fight makes a lot of sense to them, style-wise, Golovkin being older age. I think they would take that. But I knew for a fact that he wasn't going to go to Showtime. I knew that for a fact. I knew Golden Boy was not going to miss out on a payday. They weren't going to build up Munguia and then miss out on their biggest payday to, you know, take a chance of him losing to Charlo on Showtime, where they don't even have any, you know, get any of the profit.
Well, no, hold on. They do get profit because when you send a fighter over, you get a percentage of their purse if you're the promoter. So,
yeah, you get like a manager's fee, basically.
So they were going to make money. And to be honest, that's a winnable fight. And I don't mean, I'm not saying like, oh, that's automatically like, of course. But I mean, what I mean winnable is like, that's a pretty even fight. You're not sending him out to fight, you know, Beterbiev. You're fighting Charlo, somebody who's pretty much on your level, somebody who's at your same weight class, somebody who has a belt. I don't understand why not send over there. Is a risk reward factor. And you telling me if he lost to Charlo, it would have been the end of the world? No, he would have lost to Charlo and rebuild them up.
Hey, but listen, Joel, you got to understand when you got 4 fighters that are keeping the lights on, you ain't trying to send them nowhere, man. And I think that's part of it too, man. With PBC, if Earl Spence loses, then we got boots in the wings waiting to kind of take over and fill his spot, and they'll build him and they'll move him around. He's fighting in LA. Pretty sure he's going to make his way to the Barclays and do all this other stuff. They don't have that, like Ezra was saying, they don't have that system at Golden. They don't have a next man system up. These guys are it.
See, remember, they have to fill cards. They have to fill cards on DAZN. DAZN says, I'm going to give you a deal. You have to fill this many cards. They don't have that many main eventers. So they got to basically reuse Ryan Garcia twice a year, Virgil Ortiz twice a year, Zerlo twice a year. That's the only way they're going to fill cards is with those main eventers because they don't have anyone else.
Yeah. Well, to see, this is where me and you two guys kind of split ways. I don't look at a loss as that bad. Two, if you're telling me, okay, you have that little bit of fighters to promote your company and to keep your company moving forward, then obviously you're going to have to take a little bit more risk. You're going to have to take a little bit more risk that other fighters aren't doing, other promoters, aren't doing. So maybe sending your fighter out to a 50-50 fight that maybe he can win, maybe he can lose, is something you need to do. Because trust me, he would have beat Charlo and came back to DAZN with a belt.
Yeah, but
Golden Boy will be in a much better position.
Much
better position. And if he would have lost, you just rebuild Munguia back up. He's still a main event fighter.
But remember, when that fight negotiation was happening, there was one other thing happening, and that was DAZN and the Golden Boy negotiations, right? As for a network deal. So there was the exact same time. And so when DAZN asks you, who are you going to put on these cards? Why am I paying you to put events on our network, right? Our streaming service. They had to have those names. And they said, if he brings up Munguia, and Munguia is going to fight on Showtime, fighting Charlo, the biggest fight, you built him all of the way here to his biggest fight. And whether you say that that's a winnable fight, it's a 50-50 fight at best.
It's a 50-50.
It's a 50-50 fight at best. That means 50% chance he loses. And I don't think it's the end of the world, but I think that when you build a guy up to get to his biggest fight, and then you get no ends on the profit, the ticket sales, the pay-per-views of that fight, then I don't think that's good business. I don't think that as a manager, that's what you should be doing. As a promotion, that's what you should be doing. I don't believe so. No, I think you build guys up. I don't think they're building Ryan Garcia up then to say, go to the PBC and fight on their pay-per-view. They get all the money, all the ticket sales and everything, and we'll make a manager fee.
Yeah, but Munguia is not at the level of popularity as a Ryan Garcia. So for Ryan Garcia, I understand having that point of view. And the fact that he's, for whatever reason, very unwilling to fight Andre, the next best thing, because if you're telling me, he's worried about setting these dates with DAZN, then he should have exercised his mandatory to WBO and made that fight on DAZN, championship fight.
That one I didn't understand. I also didn't understand why Charlo didn't make that fight. So I think for both guys not fighting Adames, that didn't make no sense to me. That I don't get that one.
That's like a 70-30 fight in favor of Munguia. And I interviewed Carlos Adames, and he said his promoter was willing to send him to DAZN.
Yeah,
so I don't. So you're not going to tell me he's not ducking?
Yeah, no. And I thought Charlo should have fought Adames too. I thought that made a lot more sense. I don't know why none of those fights were made. I couldn't tell you on that.
But you know what? Again, right? Because and I think something that we kind of not looking at, especially with the Charlo, man. I think that Al Heyman is a master planner. So if we get this Selecki fight, if he can get Selecki out of here early, I think we may see Charlo move up later on in the year and fight a Caleb Plant or fight the winner of a Caleb Plant, Anthony Durrell. So I just think that it was kind of like, hey, listen, we're not going to get our Munguia fight, which would have been a real big money fight. There's nobody else at 160 that we can fight right now. Even the other champion, Andrade, is moving up. You one's going to get a Golovkin fight. So why we put you in here with a hard guy, right? And 160 is thin anyway. But why would we put you here with an Adames that we know can punch? Now, granted, I think Charlo wins that fight. I think Charlo probably ends up stopping him lately. But Adames can crack, especially early. He's a switch hitter, right? If I'm not mistaken.
Can he crack? Is he that big of a puncher?
No. I'm not saying that, but you got a young, hungry guy. I will put him in there with Selecki. He only lost to Jacobs, only lost to Andre. If I know that in the second half of the year, I need this guy healthy because maybe in December timeframe, Thanksgiving timeframe, we're gonna have him out again big. So again, sometimes the stuff that we don't like I wanted that Munguia Charlo fight, right? But we just got to see kind of what happens after this. It's kind of crazy that the Jacobs fight falls out for Munguia, but I don't know where he goes. But I think with the Charlo, man, we may have something in store later this year, man. Which is it's not fun to say it now, but
yeah. I hope they're building towards something big for him. I would like to get Charlo in a big fight. You know, he hasn't been one in a while, so I would.
Yeah, it's like since he's
a good fight. I really like that fight.
Since he's moved up to 160, and I'm not even being condescending. Like, it's embarrassing how his level of competition. And I understand he was the mandatory for Canelo, and Canelo went franchise. I know the history, but at the same point, if you can't get that fight, okay. Why not? That's why I don't understand why people get mad at me when I reference what Canelo says when he goes, fight somebody. It's not unreasonable for me to go, okay, you're not fighting me. All right, well, who you fighting then? You fighting Montiel? You fighting Selecki? You fighting Brandon Adams? You fighting, you get what I'm saying?
But Joel, it's the same thing again. You get back to the business. It's the same thing with Munguia. Remember, Steven Espinoza came on Chicken Talk. He said they did Charlo's last 14 fights. Those big fights you're talking about with Triple G's not coming to PBC. Andre's not coming to PBC. So then again, you got a guy, he's not fighting great competition. You're fighting who you can get him in there in the ring against. In the biggest fight of his career, we've done your last 14. And in the biggest one of your career, we'll let you go to the zone for? You know what I mean? It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the Munguia thing in reverse almost.
See, I understand it from the Showtime point of view because Showtime has a plethora of fighters where they don't need to send their fighters over to, make a big splash and possibly take a risk and bring back more value to their network. Yeah. From the Golden Boys perspective, I look at it as, okay, they don't have that many fighters. Some Munguia, maybe, I don't know where he ranks in terms of, maybe he's the second most popular fighter Golden Boy has, maybe he's the third, but if he goes to Showtime, which is a bigger network than DAZN, beats Charlo, bring back a belt. Now you have him with a belt, with the WBC belt, which again is one of the most popular belts. He's Mexican in the middleweight division in a glorious. So you're just upping your stock. You get what I'm saying? When you buy a stock, you gotta. It's a risk when you buying it.
Yeah, and
it makes sense.
I got the last one on Charlo. I might have to dip on this one because my girl came in and already gave me like 3 looks. Right, 3 looks. After the third one.
Three strikes you out.
It's a long ride home.
I'll close it out before you go.
Oh, so point on Charlo right now, and it is a good point. Truth. Charlo is in a big fight next. It has to be next. If it ain't next, I don't know where they go for him. Right? You got Selecki. Okay, but look who's going to come into free agency. Andre's coming to free agency. Right? You have Plant, who doesn't have a fight set up. You have Benavidez will be fighting Lemieux, and then will be free for a fight. Then you have to imagine next year that Canelo's gone this year. He's not going to happen this year. So you have 3 guys that are on your side of the street, right? And I don't want to see him go to 167 and fight Durrell. I'm gonna be honest with you. That's not exciting to me. Might as well just fight him next. If you're gonna do that, might as well go fight Durrell. Right?
If he's moving up to 68, if he's moving up to 68, it better be for Plant or Benavidez
or Andre, who's a free agent,
or
right?
Andre, yes,
free agent, right? Those are 3 big fights. Now Munguia, you didn't fight Adames, right? You're going to fight Jacobs. Okay, I can make reason behind that because Jacobs is a bigger name, right? Okay, I'm fine with that. But Jacobs falls apart now. Adames is still there. Make that fight happen then, right? Because to me, you want to call him a duck? I think that's fair. If he doesn't fight Adames, Janabek, all those guys are right there now, and you don't have the Jacobs fight, you better make some stuff happen now. I think both guys are in a position where they need to make stuff happen now. And there's guys that
got to fight too. To fight Danny Dignam.
Yeah.
Dignam, whatever his name is.
His history's gonna prove me right. Watch fucking Jaime Munguia fight with Spike O'Sullivan again. But guys, thank you so much. Listen, everybody listening right now, I need you to do 2 things for me. Well, 3 things. 1, if you haven't hit the like and subscribe button for my channel, please do that. And then hold on, I'm gonna share both my co-hosts' channels. Please go over there and support their channel. This is Ezra. This is his podcast. It's the Ezra Podcast, Boxing and MMA. He does both. He talks boxing and MMA. Please go over to his channel, hit that subscribe button. And also my other co-host, Truth. This is his channel. 1 second, I will be screen sharing. Please go over to his channel at A-Side Boxing Talk. Right here, A-Side Boxing Talk. Listen, hit that subscribe button. These are 2 very, very knowledgeable boxing fans. As you guys saw, they came on my channel. They gave me the time of the day. Thank you so much. Please go do that. Listen, all I'm asking is for free things. I'm not asking nobody for money. Go on their channels, hit that like and subscribe button to all their videos, and do the same as well for this one as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining me, and we got to do this again. I had too much fun for this. Not to do this again.
Of course, I'm always up for this. I appreciate you.
Yeah, definitely.
And true, you got a channel. I'll definitely get subscribed. I need to get you on mine.
Likewise.
Yeah, man. And by the way, either or both of y'all ever want me on y'all channel, just know I'm a text away. I'm more than willing to go on y'all channel.
For sure.
Can't wait.
All right, man. Peace.
Peace.